You're listening to the 23 Personnel Podcast, a Texas Tech athletics podcast where food and sports clash at the goal line. Here are your hosts, Spencer and Michael.
All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to an episode of the 23 Personnel Podcast. I am your host, Spencer, joined by Michael. Michael, what's up, man?
I just hope that the nation is ready to learn how to speak Mitch Griffiths. Coming at you. QB3.
QB2? QB1?
Probably QB2. Going into Manhattan. How are you?
I am admittedly irritated.
But we won 42-0, Spencer. There's
point victory, a shutout, never in question.
Yeah, from the first 3 snaps or whatever. Not 3 snaps.
One snap. You took one offensive snap and you were up 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, true.
That's not what I'm irritated about. It's more big picture, like reviewing the game. I wouldn't say there were specific points in the game I was irritated with. It wasn't like, oh, that was really dumb, or like, man, we really need to be better at X, Y, Z. They were okay. If I could pinpoint something I was irritated with, it was early on drops from Caleb Douglas.
Mm-hmm.
But when as my frustration was mounting with that, then he had like 3 huge catches back to back. I was like, I'm just gonna let it go. It's fine. We're good. I can't really complain about it. Like, he doesn't catch 100% of the ball thrown his way. Nobody would. Okay. Here's where I'm at, and we'll dissect it further. You scored 42 points today. Your offense scored 21 of those. 28. But you were gifted one of those touchdowns really close because your special teams had a blocked punt recovered really close to the end zone. Essentially, you put together 3 scoring drives against potentially the worst team in all of college football. That's concerning. You did it with Hammond for a bit until he goes out with a non-contact injury. He may not play again this season. Griffiths comes in, plays well. Frustrated that you had to get to him, but I mean, I'm not frustrated that Hammond played today. Like, you expected him to play, even if Morton was back this week. I'm irritated we can't have nice things, Michael. We can't get through a season without a quarterback injury. Grateful that I guess that Morton's going to have essentially 3 weeks off to get into shape, I guess, for playing in Manhattan. Because he didn't play at all. I mean, he probably practiced some, very little bit, preparing for Arizona State, maybe some this week, getting ready for Oklahoma State, and then we'll be ramping up next week. So you wouldn't really have 3 weeks off, but 2 weeks, 2 games. Positive note that he could have played against Arizona State. Well, okay. They say that, but at what point would you have put him in Arizona State? Because it wasn't like you were just going to put him in when you needed to score or you needed to shake things up. You were, I guess, waiting on injury to push that button. So I don't know. You were at the game, so maybe your perspective of taking the game in, the environment, not having the broadcasters in your ear, those kind of things. Maybe it's just different in the stadium. What was the vibe there? What was the feeling that you left the stadium with?
Fans were a little frustrated and restless, I would say, going up 21-0 as fast as Texas Tech did. It still was obvious that Hammond was not as crisp as we had seen him in Utah. Missing some guys making drops. I think one of the most frustrating things was Texas Tech not being able to run the ball. That was obvious to everybody there. Another thing that was frustrating, as good as our defense was, and it seemed like the plan was to get enough pressure on Jackson to get him out of the pocket and roll out. But there were several plays where he had all day to make a play. It's just that he either was unable to hit an open receiver or couldn't find one. And that's what happens when you have a wide receiver playing quarterback back there. I'm not sure why they put Walters in. I didn't know if Jackson got banged up because I saw Jackson come back. Maybe they were just testing the waters on Walters there, but it was around the same time that Griffiths came in, so I didn't know for sure what the issue was there. But I would say that the crowd, they weren't restless by any means, but they were a little frustrated. And there were some guys behind me wondering if Morton could go ahead and go in, especially after Hammond's fumble.
That was so
marching
strange.
towards the red zone. That was just a really odd one that happened kind of in front of our section. I was several rows up, but we were sitting at about the 25, and we saw that ball just slip out of his hands, and that was when some of the crowd was questioning whether or not Morton could come in. I was even wondering if Harrell could take a few snaps at one point.
He's coaching,
looking good.
Man. No, he was probably getting ready for his radio interview, which I guess went up in the third quarter. Anyways,
that would make sense. Yeah, because they did the presentation at halftime, and it was cool to see his name unveiled, and it's the only name on that new all of the first Ring of Honor members were below him. So Graham Harrell is dead on the 50-yard line, only name up there above them in that stretch. So it was really cool to see that. I am of the era where I appreciate what Harrell did for Texas Tech, and was glad that I got to see him get inducted. But yes, I would say that for the most part, and like you said, we don't have all the stats, we don't have all the things going on in our ears that you do during a broadcast, but fans were they were frustrated. They could tell that the offense was not performing to expectations.
And maybe that is a product of just being without Morton. That what we saw for stretches in Utah were just more flashes than what Hammond is, more what he could be. And maybe it comes back around, hopefully quickly when Hammond returns. But I have no concerns or issues with the defense today. I mean, you held a wide receiver playing quarterback, and then the third, fourth, fifth string guy, wherever Walters is going to fall in their rotation. They combined for 45% completion percentage and 87 passing yards. They just couldn't do anything. Defensively, you registered one sack on the day, and it was from Ansel Nador.
Jackson was hard to get down. Credit to him. They forced him out of the pocket, and he eluded quite a few guys.
Yeah, it also looked like, I mean, this may be me trying to find silver linings or to not be incredibly negative. It almost felt like, yeah, you could have really gotten after him and like really push the envelope there and send the house against Jackson. it felt like Wood's defensive plan was, we're going to let our guys do what they normally do, but we're going to make him beat us through the air. Like, we're going to try to contain him. We're not going to blitz him like crazy. We're not going to try to pressure him. We're going to sit back and make him throw the ball.
It was effective.
You lost. I mean, and like I said, maybe that's just me because you didn't get a whole lot of pressure on him, or he just bailed on everything anyways. So like, even trying to quantify what was defensive pressure and like success rates there, I don't know. You end the day giving up 0 points, and it never really, like, they never got anything going. It wasn't like, oh, you had a, you put the backups in before they did, and your second string gave up some yards and scores. No, that they held too, and maybe your second string was playing their second, third, fourth string, whatever at that point, anyways. But you didn't let them move the ball all day. The broadcast was talking about, like, it was 35-28-0, and like, what's there to play for? And the broadcast is like, well, the defense has to be playing for a shutout. And then they also said, like, I hate to say it, but like, in this day and age, like, if you're buried on the depth chart on defense and you want to either show the coaching staff that you're prepared for more snaps, more responsibility, or you're putting tape out there to go find playing time somewhere else. It's like, either way, the motivation is on the player to do as well as they can, even in a position where the game is not in question. And then on the Oklahoma State side, like, don't get shut out. Well, you did. So want to point that out. That's the first time you've done that against a Big 12 opponent in, I think they said 20 years. I think that last happened against Baylor in 2005.
Oh, wow.
We didn't even get a shutout versus Kent State or Arkansas Pine Bluff.
Yeah, 28-0. Almost to the day, October 29th, 2005.
Yeah. I think the last time, like, they also mentioned a time when Texas Tech did something similar to Oklahoma State. It was, I think, back in the 90s.
But this is another reason you can't rely on AI, because right before we started recording, I typed, when was the last time Texas Tech football had a shutout versus a Power 5 opponent? And it is telling me that it was in 1967 versus Texas A&M, and it was a 20-0 victory. But that's obviously completely incorrect. So good job, AI. Thanks for taking all the jobs for that.
I wonder, as much as we talked about like 66-6 or the 23-0 from a couple of years ago, where this type of game will live with the Oklahoma State fans. Like, will this game bother them? Probably not,
no.
Right?
No, I think it'll be. This leads into something too that I enjoyed today. I think this will just be just another layer of the crap sandwich that they've been dealt. It's like, okay, whatever, just put a little bit more on there. That's fine. Who's going to notice? But I did enjoy several of the fans I saw today. There was one guy in particular, Oklahoma State fans. I mean, because we were standing in line pretty near him, and anytime he would see another Oklahoma State fan go by, they'd, hey, let's go Pokes. And, they'd put their guns up or whatever. And he'd say, let's shock the world. Like, everybody knew. They knew it. Nobody, there were no pretense there. So I enjoyed that. Let's shock the world today, guys. And that would get everybody around him to laugh, including the Oklahoma State fans walking by. So I appreciated that.
There's a question here from one of our, which we'll get to. We'll talk about tiebreakers. Tech, BYU, and Cincinnati all have one loss at the end. Well, if BYU has one loss and Tech has
play
one
each
loss,
other.
it's going to be from Tech. So Tech would hold the tiebreaker there. You need to be also concerned about Arizona State. Although I think D. Wayne said Houston's doing us a favor right now and is doing some work. Let's check that
It was
score.
10-0 last I saw. It was 10-0 at half.
Oh goodness!
And I think we started right when the third quarter hit.
17-0 at the end of the third. Oh my gosh! Really were their Super Bowl now, and they are playing a really good pass defense in Houston without Tyson. But also,
yeah, stinks to not have one of your best players. Yeah,
couldn't relate.
Zero sympathy.
Okay, so coming back to today, to Texas Tech. We talked about needing a bounce back win. You got the win. I don't know how much I would consider this a bounce back, besides it's a response after losing. Because you look at what Oklahoma State was defensively. Okay, so say your quarterbacks are in a weird state. They finished completing 66% of their passes for 282 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. It's not bad. What is concerning, Michael, is whatever Oklahoma State was defensively on the ground, they held you to 2.2 yards per carry. 40 carries for 88 yards. The longest rush you had on the day was a 15-yard carry from Cam Dickey.
Yeah, second week in a row of not being able to run the ball almost at all. And that was with, I mean, justifiably so, that's against a backup quarterback that the defense probably kind of picked a similar game plan to where, okay, we'll let him throw it and we'll just stop the run. But even if that's the case, it is very alarming how little they've been able to get the ball moving offensively.
Yeah. I was walking around. I watched the entire game, but I was at home for none of this game. It's the beautiful thing about cell phones these days. There were times I noticed Upshaw was in the game. One time I know he was wearing like a jersey in the 40s, and maybe he was just in there for like a 6th offensive line or blocking back. It felt like there was some interesting rotations there along the offensive line, but that is concerning that you only had 88 rushing yards on 2.2 yards per carry. Like, those two things together are concerning. The fact that Hammond, before leaving the game with an apparent injury, still looked off.
Yes.
He completed 9 of 15 of his passes for 100 yards, 1 touchdown. And then he ran 4 times for 21 yards. Had that fumble, which,
yeah,
I mean, he wasn't hit. He didn't like bounce it off his leg. It looks like it just slipped out of his hands. And I was like, I don't like, you need to control that better, but also it's fluky and it sucks. That's about all I can say about it. I mean, it sucks, but that's not like a what was he thinking, what was he doing type thing. So you started the game, opening kickoff. You took it to the house, 99 yards. Jacoby Williams, welcome back. You hold Oklahoma State to a 3 or 4 and out. I can't remember. They punt. You block it. You recover it. First play, Jacoby Williams up the sideline. It's a check down, but nobody came over to pick him up until he got to the goal line. So one offensive play, you're up 13-0. I don't know if it was a missed extra point or if they went for 2 and didn't convert it, but you didn't get the extra point there.
Yeah, that was a doink. He doinked it off the upright.
So you missed 2 kicks today because you missed a field goal there.
Yep.
Which also you could tally that into the I don't like that trend where that's going. Home drives. So you went touchdown, punt. So your first play, 26 yards for a touchdown. Your next drive was a 3-and-out. Then you had the 13 play, 82-yard touchdown drive. Fumble, downs, punt, half. You scored 1 offensive touchdown, 2, but 1 offensive touchdown in the first half on a sustained drive. And I believe he went out, it was before half, but right before half, right? If I remember correctly, Hammond.
No, I thought. Yeah, I guess it was. Hang on. I'm not entirely sure. I thought it was third quarter.
And then, let's see. Well, I wish I could pull it up by drive by plays by drive. Anyways, second half you come out, you open up with an 8-play, 83-yard touchdown drive, fumble, 8-play, 80-yard drive, touchdown, punt, field goal attempt, half. And at that point you were deep into your roster. You were trying to slow the game down. But you never really felt like, you never got in a rhythm. You never really felt like things just, your offense just never got going, which was concerning. You had 2 non-offensive touchdowns today. You had the interception and the fumble strip return for a touchdown, which of course it was Jacob Rodriguez, because of course it was. You nearly had a pick 6. The broadcast was like that won't come any easier for a defensive end to have a pick 6, because had Esters caught that ball, he would have landed in the end zone. His foot came down in the end zone. And it was more or less like surprising me. He was so close. I keep coming back to it. The 1-play drive, I almost discredit that from giving credit to the offense, but you had 1 sustained drive in the first half. This is supposed to be a really bad Oklahoma State team, and you got 1 sustained drive. I don't feel comfortable with where this team is at, despite winning the way you did today, going into Manhattan, Kansas next week. I'm really down on a 42-point victory, Michael. Talk me off this ledge here.
Well, and it's not just a 42-point victory. It's a 42-point victory against a pretty heated rival, but a rival on their worst of worsts. A good thing about today, too, as we mentioned it, I can't remember the exact record anymore, but Texas Tech now leads the overall record officially between these two teams. They were dead even tied with wins and even ties. They had 3 ties amongst them over their history. So there's that. That's positive. That's good. The other negative is Kansas State absolutely took Kansas to the woodshed today in their own house. Some of that was similar to how Oklahoma State lost. There was a blocked punt for a touchdown. It got kind of sloppy there because it was misting. It was raining, but not raining. And so I think that led to some issues with holding onto the ball for sure. So I think within a couple of minutes, Kansas State had blocked a punt for a touchdown and recovered a fumble. And I think they scored right after that too. So they put up 14 quick in maybe the second quarter. And then that was just kind of must have been how the rest of the game went, because I was not able to watch much more beyond that. We had to get out to the soccer field to sit for an hour until our game got canceled eventually. So that was fun. But anyway, I'm trying to talk you off the ledge, but I think what will help is seeing Morton back. You've got that coming. You've got Terrence Carter Jr. is coming back. He was out this week.
Mm-hmm.
Just the defense travels. Defense still plays. You're going against a Matt Wells offense, or Matt Wells play calling offense. That there's some positives there. So, yeah, I get being frustrated today. I really do, because the offense just could not put much together. Like you said, they had out of, I don't know how many drives they had. Let's see, 13 drives. They had 3 that they were able to get into the end zone. And I'm not going to fault the field goal too much, because that was still a 40-something yarder. And whoever missed the field goal did not miss the PAT. It was back and
Harrington.
forth. So let me go back to Harrington missed the field goal, but Belafont missed the PAT, for what that's worth, if anybody cares.
Maybe this was Kansas State's Super Bowl.
Is that the
In-state
Sunflower
rivalry?
Showdown?
Yeah,
maybe so. Maybe they're going to be a little bit too high on their own supply over the next week, but possibly top 10 Texas Tech comes to town, because OU was ranked above Texas Tech, right?
Yeah.
Were they 13, and so they lost today? Might need a few more magical things to happen. A&M is absolutely demolishing LSU right now in Death Valley, so that's not going to happen. A&M is going to be 8-0 by the time we're probably done recording here. Man, what was the score? I think they were down 18-14 at halftime, and last I checked, they're up
42-38. 42 to 18 right now. Beginning of the fourth quarter.
The Aggies are rolling, folks.
They're good.
So they're not coming down. Yep.
Oregon with 2 minutes left in the fourth, they're up 21-7. At the end of the third quarter, Houston is up 24-0.
Ooh.
But Arizona State's 24th. They're behind you.
Gosh, why couldn't they have played this awfully last week?
I know. But that if that holds, that's going to clear out some space for Texas Tech, which I'm grateful for. Thank you. Houston, they're going to continue to think that they're something. And maybe they are. Like, maybe your win over Houston will just continue to get that much more valuable. Indiana won 56-6 over UCLA. They were 2. Alabama did beat the number 4. Alabama did beat South Carolina 29-22. 7th ranked Georgia Tech demolished Syracuse 41-16. Ole Miss was 8 over number 13 Oklahoma. 9 Miami beat Stanford. Number 10 Vanderbilt beat 15 Missouri. No, so you're not going to move up. I mean, you may move up one spot.
Yeah, maybe one spot. Yep.
Unless someone
jumps you. Yeah. I don't know who would, but it's possible.
Well, let's see. Who's behind you? Okay, so 13 was Oklahoma.
Texas.
They lost. Missouri lost. Texas 22, and they won in overtime.
Yeah.
Cincinnati won big over Baylor. Virginia won in overtime over North Carolina. They're 16.
Yeah, I have a feeling it's just going to be kind of status quo. Maybe a couple will shuffle, but
yeah, you're not moving, because of course not. When you need to make some space to get back up after an inexplicable loss. Yeah. All right. Let's go through some comments and then talk about the rest of the Big 12 in a little bit more detail than just a couple of ranked scores. D-Wayne says, so happy Joey said Morton is starting next week. Yeah, I hope he's ready to get this offense going. I hope TC's able to come back because he's been a big piece of the puzzle too. Weiss, I think it's Laura, but L. Weiss says, I hope we get a quarterback in the portal. I hope we go to quarterback in the portal because I won't be shocked if Will is out a significant amount of time. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to help anything this season, but
Yeah, that didn't sound good. What McGuire had to say to Level, that they were looking at getting Hammond an MRI and all that kind of good stuff. And to echo what you already said, that it was a non-contact injury, which is almost always the worst kind.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it looks like he could be out for an extended amount of time. And I just wanted to go back and say you were correct. The substitution and his injury was in the second quarter. So Griffiths started as QB1 in the second quarter, not the third.
D-Wayne comes in. KSU is looking scary. Scary. Hopefully our defense can dominate the line and make Avery throw a few interceptions. And also gave us the heads up that Houston was doing good work right now. Going to do us a big favor if they beat Arizona State. Yeah, they're up by 24 right now. So, I mean, you could probably pencil that one in.
Yeah, with K-State, I feel this is just funny because everyone has been saying this all year, and here it is. They're going to get everything set up just in time for Texas Tech to come to Manhattan. They're going to figure it out. They're going to be able to start putting one foot in front of the other and start figuring out how to win games. And lo and behold, maybe that's the case. I hope not. But it's been a running joke probably since week 1 or week 0, really. And we're right in the middle of it. So got to win that game next week. Can't take any of that lightly, especially based off what they did today.
Yeah. Brett Manny Wilson, we talked about the tiebreaker situation. BYU is going to be in first place. They won tonight. They beat Iowa State. I think they are off this upcoming week while you were in Manhattan. And then those two teams play, Texas Tech and BYU, in 2 weeks. I don't know.
That is correct. So BYU, yeah, I can look that up in a second. BYU's schedule is, just like you said, off next week here in Lubbock, of course, and then they face TCU at home. They go to Cincinnati, and then they host UCF.
Okay.
And let me look up Cincinnati's score just because their schedule. So Cincinnati, of course, today took care of Baylor 41-20. Yep. And they have 4 games remaining after that. Next week, they will be at Utah. Then they will host Arizona, host BYU, and then finish off the year at TCU. So pretty rough stretch for Cincy the rest of the year.
I would love it if Cincinnati beat BYU.
I think I would. We'll have to see what happens in 2 weeks in Lubbock, but
because I think
I would like that.
I think if they beat BYU, it would set up for Texas Tech Cincinnati title game, assuming that Texas Tech handles its business.
Well, and that Cincinnati handles theirs too.
I just from the novelty of it, like I would love to see a new matchup this season in the title game, not like, oh, it's gonna be Texas Tech Utah again, or whatever that would be, or Texas Tech BYU. Like I don't want to have a repeat. I also said my husband is an ASU alum, and it was a bad week last week. I can imagine.
Yeah.
LY.
Try not to gloat too much tonight.
Nope, that's not the one I wanted to highlight. I wanted this one. Our offensive line. Woof. Excuse me. Yeah, it's not good. Question is, are Arizona State Charmin soft?
They might be. Let me see. Let me go back to, aside from them somehow figuring out how to play football the one week that Texas Tech comes to town. Oh, look, Arizona State scored. So how about that? 24-6 right now, PAT pending, I'm sure. But up until that, if you take out Texas Tech's game, they were outscored 66-16 in the last 2 games, including the Houston game right now. So
the score tracker does say end of the fourth. I don't know if that was accurate because I feel like the fourth quarter.
oh,
just
interesting.
started.
Yeah, that can't be right. I think you're correct. It's the end of the fourth quarter has.
It just started.
Yeah.
13:56. 2-point conversion failed.
Arizona State was also favored 17.5 in this game.
Yeah, I mean, Texas Tech was favored 11, 12, 10.5, whatever it was. Here's this other thing. Arizona State fans throwing bottles in the field, not even given a penalty. That rule was only made for Tech. I've not watched this, and I am curious to hear, because I didn't see it in the broadcast, but what was the tortilla situation today, Michael? I assume there were some.
There was no tortilla situation. Honestly, we were even on the east side, directly behind the students. I saw half a dozen fly at kickoff. There were some younger, I'm going to call them kids, but they were probably 17, 18, 19, I don't know, in front of us that threw some randomly. I think when Tech scored their second touchdown, just randomly, each of them had one. And I don't even know if they brought them in. Maybe they landed next to them and they just like, all right, we'll throw them. But we were up far enough. It obviously wasn't going to make it to the field. So it was a non-factor. I was impressed, honestly. And I had a friend of mine, my buddy Ace Man, he was in town with the family. He was sitting on the west side and he didn't really see anything at all on his side. So all the students, they gave all the students towels, looked like, as they were coming in. So those were in the air. The stadium was packed until probably halfway through the third quarter. It started to people started to file out a little bit. I was really impressed by that because that's been an issue over the last several years of fans just leaving. But we've talked about that before. This year and last year, there's been a huge difference, I think, and possibly in 23 as well. But keeping the fans in the stadium, of course, it doesn't hurt when you're not allowed back in when you leave. So that kind of probably helps people make some decisions. But no, the tortilla thing, non-factor. They were checking when we went through. No one around me had any. I don't have any inside scoop or anything crazy about that. And hopefully all the fans that didn't get to throw any realize that they can still enjoy a 7-win football team shut out a Big 12 opponent at home without throwing a tortilla. Yeah. From here, it's possible.
I'm glad that wasn't like a big thing today. It is frustrating to hear getting worked up about it, that actually dangerous scenarios happening and it not being to the same level as penalties or whatever as a tortilla, or actually bottles being thrown in the field and nothing happening. That's irritating, but whatever. All right. Isn't our offensive line beat up right now, or are they just not getting it done? Going back to the comments, questions, and I know that you were dealing with some rotation. I do think I saw Scurry in there. I know Carter he missed some time. Who's been playing left guard? I know Cash Cleveland was for a little bit today as well. Who was before Cleveland?
I am such the worst
Why
guy
am
to
I
ask
blanking
that.
on his name? Because it was Sheridan Wilson as a center. Howard Sampson was left tackle. Davion Carter was right guard. Jacob Ponton right tackle. Whatever. Yeah, you're moving some guys around. Again, I don't know if it's necessity or I mean, I don't think you're tinkering with the lineup just because at this point in the season. All right. Let's give a quick rundown of the Big 12. We already touched on it briefly, but games that are final. Number 11 BYU 41-27 over Iowa State. Looks like they're on a roll, man. They had pick 6 there. Iowa State got a jump on them early. They were up 17-7 at the end of the first. And then had a 24-17 lead at halftime, but then only kicked a field goal in the third quarter for their final points of the game, whereas BYU put on 24 points in the second half. Iowa State was a 2.5-point favorite at home and lost by 14. Cincinnati, 21-point victors tonight at home over Baylor, 41-20. They got a strong start. They were up 24-6 at the half and then put up 14 more in the fourth to pull away there at the end. You mentioned Kansas State over Kansas, 42-17. TCU one score game over West Virginia, 23-17. And you've got 2 games currently ongoing. Arizona State back with the ball, 12 minutes to go, trailing 24-6. And then with about 5 minutes to go in the first quarter, Utah up 10-0 over Colorado. So there you go. We will be back on Tuesday for a full recap and then a preview for Kansas State. Michael, is there anything else you want to hit the people with before we get out of here?
I can't think of a better way to start a football game than to go up by 2 touchdowns before the offense has even run. The opposing offense has even run 3 plays. They did run 3, and that was it. But anyway, what a great way to start the game. What a great way to have Williams back. And well done defense. Well done, J-Rod. Let's get healthy. Let's hopefully get this offense back on its feet in Manhattan next week.
Yep. Well, that'll do it for us here on the 23 Personnel Podcast. We will be back on Tuesday. Hopefully, you continue to have the special teams doing what they've been doing. Big returns, blocks, get the kicking game squared away, but Morton and TC coming back should be real big. That'll do it for us. For Michael, I'm Spencer. We'll get you guys next time.
Thank you for listening to the 23 Personnel Podcast. Help us out by subscribing, rating the show, and leaving a review. Follow us on Twitter at 23 Personnel, Spencer at Punt Suck, and Michael at Michael_LBK. Be sure to catch the next episode. And until then, guns up and let the tortillas fly.